Treyarch just fixed a massive problem that's been plaguing Call of Duty since it showed up in Modern Warfare 22, has been an issue in Modern Warfare 3, and now Black Ops 6. Sledgehammer Games actually did manage to fix this pretty early on in the game's life cycle in Modern Warfare 3, so a lot of people, myself included, were really upset to see it come back for the launch of Black Ops 6, and that's visual recoil and effects while firing your weapon. This can make it extremely hard to see what you're aiming at, and mostly affects mouse and keyboard players because, unlike controller players, we don't have aim assist to help guide us when the weapon model is covering a player due to the visual recoil and the weapon bobbling all over the place. This also now makes iron sights actually viable for mouse and keyboard players because previously the weapon would just shake and twist so much that the weapon model would actually block your view of the enemy more than it should, meaning that mouse and keyboard players basically had to run an optic on all weapons to even have a chance. I'm not entirely sure if they made adjustments to things like the muzzle flash or smoke coming off the gun, but it seems to be reduced as well. I honestly can't tell if it's been changed or if it's just a placebo, but I feel like previously there was quite a bit of smoke coming off the gun, making it hard to see when I was firing. And to anyone that's on their way to the comment section to type in all caps, "But it's not realistic," just stop. Call of Duty isn't a milsim game. It's an arcade shooter and has a theme grounded somewhat in reality, and realism should never get in the way of your ability to have fun in the game, or at the very least, it shouldn't get in the way of your ability to see your target. Now, we also got some changes to idle sway on snipers, and this is another massive win from the team at Treyarch. If you weren't aware previously, the way idle sway applied to snipers is that it would trigger the idle sway the second you started aiming down sights, and this meant that when you got fully aimed down sight, your crosshair would actually be in a completely different place than where it was pointed before you started aiming, making snipers feel difficult and unrewarding, especially at those medium to longer ranges. Good snipers are very conscious about their crosshair placement before aiming down sight, so they only need to make a small correction to get back on target, which was part of the skill gap when it comes to sniping, especially quick scoping. And having the idle sway always being active basically removed that skill entirely. But now you get a short period of time once you get aimed down sight to break off a shot before that idle sway penalty kicks in, and if you run the target laser, it extends that period of time all the way to 2.9 seconds, which is a pretty solid buff to snipers. Before anyone complains that this makes snipers overpowered, this only makes players who are already on target with their crosshair more accurate, and it doesn't just instantly allow bad players to all of a sudden get easy kills. This is actually one area I think they've managed to find a good balance with, considering people complained non-stop about how overpowered snipers were back in Black Ops Cold War. But let's circle back to the visual recoil for a minute. As a person who's chronically online, I saw so many people complaining about this change, including content creators and streamers, saying that somehow the game is either too easy or that the skill gap has been reduced. Is this the average Call of Duty fan? Is the average Call of Duty fan really this stupid now? Are people actually this dumb? I saw post after post and comment after comment complaining that the game is somehow easy because, let me check my notes. You can actually see what you're shooting at now? There can't possibly be this many people who don't know the difference between visual recoil and actual recoil. But on the off chance you don't know and you're still here after being insulted, let me break it down for you. Visual recoil is all of the weapon sway, shaking, and bobbling that the weapon does while you're running, sliding, jumping, and shooting. This has literally nothing to do with the actual recoil and the recoil pattern. Actual recoil is the amount that your reticle moves vertically and horizontally while firing, and this is the exact same as before this change. The only difference is that the weapon model isn't having a seizure while you're shooting. So this is all cosmetic and has absolutely nothing to do with the skill gap in Call of Duty. I couldn't wait to get on and see how the weapons felt after the update, and I instantly noticed an increase in my performance. Now, I'm not a pro level player, but I'm slightly above average, and almost every single game that I played yesterday, I had above a 2 KD, and in multiple games was above a 3. It's crazy how a simple change like this can dramatically increase my performance on mouse and keyboard, because for the first time since the game launched, I can actually see what I'm shooting at. Now, does this fix all of the issues in the game? Of course not. So I want to take a quick minute and just run down a short list of big issues I hope to see Treyarch tackle as soon as possible. First on the list, of course, the netcode and hit detection issue. They have to get this under control because a first-person shooter doesn't really work unless your bullets register when you hit your target. That's kind of the core function of shooter games. They also really need to take a look at bullet penetration and figure out what's going on here, because I can't count how many times I've spawned in nowhere near an enemy and get hit with a bullet before my character even finishes cocking the weapon. They also really need to figure out what's going on with the vehicles not spawning in properly on some of these maps, because it leads to a lot of weird situations. The worst one being that if someone is lucky enough to load into Nuketown and not have the bus render in, for some reason they decided that it was a good idea that bullets could pass cleanly through the bus, so people can literally just stand behind it. You can't see them, but they can see you, and they can just beam you clean through the bus, and there's nothing you can do about it other than leave the game. I've said since the beta of this game there's a lot of potential here in Black Ops 6, and to be completely honest, the game's been a letdown for me. I was really really hoping to see a proper follow-up to Black Ops Cold War, because that was the last game that actually felt like a classic Call of Duty game and not whatever this new era of Infinity Ward Warzone style games are. To me, Black Ops 6 feels like Infinity Ward had their hand in the mix with everything from weapon design, visual recoil, and the awful maps we had at launch. But I've said time and time again, if Treyarch can pull off what they did in Black Ops Cold War, where the game launched in a really rough state, but ended up being a very solid 8 out of 10 around the time Season 2 hit, then Black Ops 6 has a chance to be another banger from Treyarch. But they definitely have their work cut out for them. If you like this video and you want to watch another one, click here.